I was never one for fancy dining, but when my best friend Laura insisted we try Le Fantôme, the new French restaurant downtown, I gave in. She raved about it like everyone else did. Michelin-starred chef, impossible to get reservations, and dishes that were supposedly once-in-a-lifetime experiences. It was all anyone could talk about. People are saying it's life-changing, Laura said, practically bouncing in her seat as we waited for our reservation day to arrive. The wait list is insane, but I pulled some strings. You'll love it. The buzz surrounding the place was unreal. Articles flooded social media with headlines like "A meal worth your soul" and asterisk, "Is this the greatest restaurant ever?" Asterisk, the hype made me suspicious. No restaurant could possibly be that good. But Lara's enthusiasm was infectious, so I let myself get excited. The night finally came. We arrived at Le Fantôme a little before our reservation, stepping into a dimly lit, richly decorated foyer. The smell hit me first. Not just food, but an intoxicating mix of herbs, butter, and something faintly sweet, like roasted sugar. The air was heavy with it. The hostess greeted us with a warm smile, her voice almost musical. "Welcome. You must be Lara and Ellie." Lara beamed. "That's us. Right this way," the hostess said, leading us through the restaurant. The dining room was gorgeous. Low lighting cast a golden glow over plush chairs and tables adorned with flickering candles. But what struck me most was the silence. The room was full, every table occupied, but there was no chatter, no clinking of silverware. Just the faint hum of soft classical music. Lara and I exchanged a glance, but neither of us said anything. We were seated at a corner table, and within moments a waiter appeared. He introduced himself as Julian and handed us menus. Though they seemed unnecessary, he immediately launched into an explanation of the night's offerings. "Our menu tonight is crafted to your tastes," Julian said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Every dish is tailored uniquely to each guest. Trust us. We will bring you exactly what you didn't know you needed." I frowned. "How do you know our tastes?" He ignored the question, scribbled something on his notepad, and disappeared before we could say anything else. "Is that normal?" I whispered. Lara shrugged. "Maybe it's part of the experience. They're probably just really good at what they do." I wanted to press her, but Julian returned almost immediately with 2 glasses of wine. I didn't recognize the label on the bottle, but it was delicious, smooth and rich, with a strange, almost metallic aftertaste. I wasn't much of a wine drinker, but it had me hooked after the first sip. Our first course arrived, an appetizer of seared scallops in a golden butter sauce. I didn't even like seafood, but the moment I tasted it, my doubts vanished. It was exquisite, perfectly cooked, melting in my mouth with flavors I couldn't even describe. Lara moaned softly, savoring each bite. "This is insane," she said. I nodded, too busy devouring the dish to respond. Course after course arrived, each one more incredible than the last. There was a roasted duck with some kind of dark berry glaze, a rich mushroom risotto, and a dessert of chocolate soufflé so decadent I felt like I might cry. But as the meal went on, I started to notice things. The dining room, for one, seemed to shift. The low lights grew dimmer, the air heavier. At some point, I realized the classical music had stopped, replaced by an almost imperceptible hum. The other diners unnerved me too. Everyone seemed entranced by their meals, eating in near silence, their movements oddly synchronized. No one spoke, not even to the waitstaff. By the time Julian brought our final course, I felt like I was in a trance. The wine flowed freely, clouding my thoughts. The food left me full but strangely unsatisfied, like I needed more. Julian placed a covered dish in front of each of us with a flourish. "For the grand finale," he said, his voice soft and reverent. He lifted the lids, revealing identical plates. The dish looked wrong. It was a piece of meat, unidentifiable but perfectly seared, surrounded by a dark, glistening sauce. A strange, metallic scent wafted up, making my stomach churn. "What is this?" I asked, my voice trembling. Julian smiled, his teeth too sharp. "A rare delicacy, one you'll never forget." I glanced at Lara, who had already taken a bite. Her eyes widened, and a shudder ran through her. "It's incredible," she whispered. "Ellie, you have to try it." I hesitated, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. I cut a small piece and brought it to my lips, the metallic scent overwhelming. The moment it touched my tongue, a vivid image flashed through my mind, a dark, sterile room, the the sound of screaming, and a cold hand gripping my wrist. I dropped the fork, while rising in my throat. "Excuse me," I stammered, pushing back from the table. "I need to use the restroom." Julian's smile faltered for the first time. "Of course," he said, his eyes following me as I stumbled away. The restroom was empty, eerily pristine. My reflection in the mirror looked pale, almost translucent. I splashed cold water on my face, my hands shaking. I had to leave. When I stepped back into the dining room, everything had changed. The diners were gone, the tables empty except for ours. Laura sat alone, staring blankly at her plate. Julian and the hostess stood nearby, their faces blank masks. "Laura, we have to go," I said, grabbing her arm. She didn't move. "We can't leave," she said, her voice distant. "Not until it's finished." "Finished?" I turned to the staff. "What did you do to her?" Julian's smile returned, wider than ever. "She's just enjoying her meal," he said. I backed away, my heart racing. But as I turned to run, I realized the door was gone. The walls stretched endlessly, the golden glow replaced by a dim, sickly green light. "You can't leave," the hostess said, her voice melodic and cold. "You made a reservation." The hum grew louder, filling my ears, my head, my entire body. I screamed, but it was swallowed by the noise. The last thing I saw before everything went dark was Julian's face, grinning as he whispered, "Bon appetit." No one ever heard from me again. The restaurant is still open, its wait list longer than ever. People keep coming, drawn by whispers of the most incredible meal they'll ever eat. But those who enter never seem quite the same when they leave. Some don't leave at all.